Okay, so what if I told you that a 2,000-year-old letter could give you a really powerful health check for, say, your team at work, your friend group, or even your family? It sounds a little crazy, right? But we're about to unpack an ancient text that, believe it or not, serves as a surprisingly modern diagnostic tool for pretty much any community.
I mean, it's a story as old as time. A group gets fired up about a new idea, but then drama. Internal conflicts start popping up, and the whole thing begins to tear itself apart from the inside. Well, this was the exact crisis facing a community in ancient Galatia, and the advice they got is probably the last thing you'd ever expect.
So, let's paint the picture here. You've got the Galatian church. It's a brand new, multi-ethnic community, which for its time was just incredibly radical. But a huge identity crisis is brewing. See, a new group of leaders shows up and starts telling all the non-Jewish members that to truly belong, to be a real member, they have to adopt the traditions of the founding Jewish members, starting with circumcision.
And let's be super clear here. This wasn't just about some religious ritual. No, this was a demand to change their entire cultural identity, just to become an insider. If they did this, if they adopted this exclusive identity, it meant they'd have to cut themselves off from anyone who wasn't part of this new, smaller club.
Well, when the community's founder, the Apostle Paul, hears about this, he writes them a fiery letter. But his response is totally counterintuitive. He doesn't just disagree with these new leaders, he gives the community this shocking warning about the very path they're thinking of taking.
So their choice really boiled down to this. Path A, create boundaries, become an exclusive group of insiders. Or Path B, keep going as the open, inclusive, multi-ethnic family they'd started as. One path feels safe and defined, while the other is open and maybe a little messy.
And here it is, the bombshell from Paul's letter. He tells them if they choose Path A, that exclusive path, they will be severed from Christ. I mean, you have to try and appreciate how staggering this would have sounded. How could embracing a core religious tradition literally cut you off from God? It makes no sense.
But Paul's logic here is all about location. He's arguing that God's life-giving grace is found in this new, open, multi-ethnic family. So by choosing to build walls and retreat into an exclusive little club, they would literally be walking away from the very place Christ was at work. They'd fall from grace because grace was out here in the open, not in there behind the walls.
And this is where Paul does something absolutely brilliant. He completely reframes their internal squabble. He tells them, hey, this isn't just a simple disagreement over rules. No, he says this is a local skirmish in a much larger cosmic battle between two competing realities. To explain this cosmic battle, Paul redefines a common word, the flesh. Now, he isn't talking about individual bad habits like we might think, greed or lust. He's describing a cosmic anti-God power that actively works to infect and destroy communities from the inside out. It's a force. So, this sets up these two warring kingdoms. You have the realm of the flesh, which fuels communities with things like division and jealousy, leading straight to destruction. And then you have the realm of the spirit, which fuels them with love and service, creating life. The Galatians were standing at a crossroads, and their choice about being inclusive would literally determine which of these cosmic powers would define their entire community.
And this is where that ancient letter becomes such a practical tool for us today. Paul gives them two lists, not as a way to judge individuals, but as a way to diagnose the health of the entire community. You can really think of it as a corporate health check.
First up, the warning signs. These are the symptoms that this destructive power of the flesh is at work. And just look at this list. Notice how many of these are about relationships? Factions, strife, jealousy. Paul sees these not just as personal failings, but as evidence of a force that is actively poisoning the community's lifeblood. But on the flip side, here are the signs of a healthy community. One that's animated by the Spirit. Love, peace, patience, kindness. Paul calls these the fruit of the Spirit, and that word is perfect. It's the tangible, visible evidence that a life-giving power is shaping how everyone in the group relates to each other. And this is a really radical idea. Paul puts all of these community-destroying behaviors on the exact same level. In his view, petty office politics or church cliques are just as serious a threat as wild parties. And why? Because they all come from the same destructive source, and they all have the same goal, to tear the community apart. So, what do? If you diagnose your community and you see some of these warning signs, what's the cure?
Paul says the path forward isn't some new strategic plan or a 5-step program. No, it's about adopting a very specific posture.
He calls them to live a cruciform or a cross-shaped life. So what does that even mean? It means actively choosing to model the way of Jesus' cross, self-giving love, humility, and consistently putting the needs of others and the community before your own.
So what does this actually look like in real life? Okay, imagine you're in a conflict. The typical approach is to build your case, gather your evidence, and try to win. A cruciform approach is the total opposite. You start by giving up your leverage. You approach with humility. You genuinely try to understand their side, and your goal isn't just to win the argument, it's to cultivate new life in the relationship.
And this is the beautiful payoff. Paul's logic is that since Jesus' cross led to resurrection, anytime we adopt that same cross-shaped posture in our own relationships, we generate what you could call resurrection dynamics. We literally start participating with the Spirit to bring healing and new life right into the middle of our broken communities.
Which leaves all of us with a pretty challenging question to think about, doesn't it? When you look at the groups you're a part of, at work, at home, in your social life, what are the dominant dynamics? Do you see the warning signs of the flesh, or do you see the fruit of the Spirit? You see, this ancient letter isn't just a history lesson. It's an invitation for us to become thoughtful diagnosticians of our own communities and to consciously choose which realm we really want to live in.